Welcome back, guys. Here's today's project. So I have to make some machinery dollies for a bunch of woodworking equipment for a friend of mine. This is the steel that he had in his garage, so we're going to try and use what he had, that way we don't have to buy anything. So we have random flat pieces of flat plate here, some C-channel, some angle, and he had this milk crate full of casters, which we're going to use just the wheels. The way we're going to set up his machines, he's got a big bandsaw, and it's set up, if you can picture my bandsaw here, it's got solid wheels mounted on the back just like mine. On the front, instead of having wheels, it just has adjusters or feet, and then right here it's got the exact same thing sticking out, but instead of having a bolt here, you picture a trailer dolly. It kind of comes up under here, pivots, and then it picks the machine up, and then you can roll it around off the back two wheels and off the dolly wheels. So we're going to make all of his machines work on that same principle. So I'll bring you over here and I'll show you what we have to make. So he already has one handle for his bandsaw, but he wants me to make another handle, and that's just a SketchUp of the handle. So it's got, I'm going to put an 8-inch T across the back. It's going to be 41 inches across here. It'll go 5 inches up with a 20-degree bend in it, and then it's going to have a 5/8 pin turned down to 3/8, which is going to slide in that hole of the tongue, and that's the tongue right there. So we got to make some of those up as well to bolt on the front of the machines. So there's 6 in total that we have to make for 6 different machines. So that's for a joiner. That's the specs of the one machine, and it's just going to have the wheels bolted to the side of the angle, and then have the tongue sticking out the front with adjuster feet on the front. He's got 2 machines, 2 shapers here that we have to build. The shaper is, the base of the shaper's got enough material to it, and it's got enough strength that we can just bolt these little brackets onto it and have the wheels directly on the back of it, and then bolt the tongues directly on the front of it. So those ones will be fairly simple, and they're actually, these machines already have holes in them that we can already screw some adjuster feet in on the other end to keep it level. And then the rest are all the same. They're just different dimensions, but they're all just bases with wheels on them. And I just have to come up with a plan, because this is what we got. We're going to try and build this so we don't have to spend any money. So we were thinking of maybe cutting this piece of C-channel in half and then turning it essentially into 2 pieces of angle. But I'm going to start making the handle first, and then we'll come back around to this once that's all done. Alright guys, I got my pieces cut for the handle, and you can see I've already marked it out. That's my mark at 41 inches that I have to bend it so it kicks up at 20 degrees. And this mark here is the mark where it's going to sit in the die of my bender. And the way I ended up marking that is I have this test bend piece here, and that's where it sits in the bender at the edge of the die. But you can see it actually doesn't start bending till about over here. So in this case, I just eyeballed where the bend's going to start. If you wanted to have a bend that was very accurate, I would have bent a piece at 20 degrees and then laid it up beside here and marked it, and then it would have been perfect. It would have started right there where I needed to. But because this isn't that critical, I'm just going to eyeball it and we're going to bend it. And I'll show you what bender we're using. This is just a Princess Auto bender. I think it's called a Pro Point is the brand. And the way we're going to measure it out is I have this digital level. I'm going to stick the tube in there. We'll zero it out, and then we'll bend it down to 20 degrees. Alright, there's our bend. I'm going to take the tension off of that. You can see we're right at 20 degrees. Always be aware that you are going to have some spring back, and what that means is you're going to bend this tube, and when you release the pressure here, the tube is going to spring back a little bit. So you usually have to overbend it a little bit. We're ready to weld now. I have the handle held in place with this magnet. I have the part that kicks up clamped down to my angle plate. That way it keeps the handle perpendicular to this piece here. So we're going to go ahead and weld it, and then after we're done welding, we have to make the cross, or the axle, whatever you want to call it, to hold the wheels on, and machine the upright for the part that goes into the tongue of the machine. Alright guys, this is all welded up now. The next part we're going to move on to is we need to drill a hole straight through this here, and that's where the pin's going to stick up through. It's going to be a 5/8 pin, and the end of the pin is going to be turned down to 3/8 of an inch, and that's what's going to fit in the hole of the tongue that goes on the end of the machine, and that's what's going to pivot and pick it up. The reason I'm drilling straight through is for nothing else, just for alignment purposes of this pin. So I can just slide it straight in, and it'll be perpendicular and straight up, and I won't have to worry about when I weld it if it's walking like left or right and not being straight up. Then the next thing we're going to have to machine is a mini axle for the two wheels that are going to be on the end of this as well. So let's get started with that now. So here are the pieces I just made. This is a piece of 5/8 round stock turned down to 3/8 of an inch, and this is going to be the pin that sits in there that you pick up the machines with. This is the axle that the wheels will bolt to. It's another piece of 5/8 round stock drilled and tapped for 3/8 fine, and I milled a flat on it. It's going to register on the bottom of this pin, and we'll weld that all up like that, and then the wheels will get bolted on either side. Here are the wheels I'm using. I just disassembled them from the casters. They're greasable, so we're going to use the factory bolts that got the grease. They're drilled for grease fittings through the center of them, and they're just going to bolt in just like this, just like that. here's the handle. It's all done, fully welded up. I got the wheels bolted on, so now we're going to move on to the next part of the project, and I'm going to kind of skip over to this page here, and I want to build these guys right here. So we have to build 4 of these permanent mount brackets that the wheels are going to bolt up onto, and I've slightly changed my design. The way I have it drawn out here, with this bracket being on a 45 here, the wheel would be almost flush with the bottom of my bracket here, and it wouldn't give me the proper ground clearance I need. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to run this plate straight out here and straight up. That way I can drop that mounting hole further down and it'll give me the ground clearance I'm going to need. Here's one I just made up just to make sure it would work. You can see where I changed my design a little bit. I lowered the mounting point of the wheel. That way it would give me more ground clearance. I drilled 4 5/16 mounting holes on the back, and what I did was I had 6-inch flat bar, so this is 3 inches wide by 3 inches tall, so I cut a 3-inch strip out of the flat bar, cut it in half, and then this back section is a 2-inch strip that I bent in half. So now that I know this is going to work, I'm going to go ahead and build 3 more, and I'll bring you along for that. We're ready to weld these all up now. I've drilled all the holes on the mill, bent them in the brake. I've got these side plates bolted together, and this is the spacer that goes in the center of the wheels that I'm using. And what I've done is I've added, I don't know if you can see it there, there's a 20 thou shim beside the spacer. That way after I weld it, I'll have a little bit of clearance to slide that all back in, so it won't be such a tight fit. So we're going to go ahead now and get started and weld them all up. Okay guys, I got all 4 of these done now. Now we're going to move on to making, I'll show you here, this tongue piece where that dolly that we just made is going to clip into. So this is what I've come up with. This is going to be the mounting plate that mounts on the machine. This is going to be the 4-inch standoff with a 3/8 hole drilled in it that the dolly is going to clip into. And then I've cut these small pieces here, and they're going to be gusseted. They're going to be on an angle like this because there's not a lot of clearance in between this and the dolly wheels. So we'll see what we can do. There they are, all welded up. So this part of the project's done. Now we're going to move on to, I'll bring you over here and show you. I guess it really doesn't matter. Any one of these carts, they're all going to be the same. We'll do one together, and then the rest I'll just do off camera because it's just repetitive. Alright guys, this is what I got done so far. I have cut 2-inch strips out of that flat sheet I had, and I'm essentially going to make my own angle. This is not ideal what I'm doing, but we're just trying to utilize the material we have. So I've cut 6 of them. I'll show you the saw I'm using. I borrowed this Milwaukee metal saw. It's cordless and it works really well, but the battery just died on me, so I'm going to start welding those pieces up, and then once the battery's charged, then I'll continue cutting the last 2. So I got it clamped down here against a piece of angle, and I'm just going to tack it first, and then we're going to start welding it all out. Alright guys, so I've got it all welded together. I've welded the bolts on the ends that the wheels are going to go onto. The only thing we have left to do now is on that end we have to make a receiver for the dolly to clip into so you can move it around. So I've got our pieces cut here for the receiver. That's going to be the part that sticks out like that. And these will be 2 small gussets welded to the side of that just to strengthen it up a little bit. And then it'll all get welded to this plate, which will then in turn get welded to the front of this frame. And the reason for this, this plate, as opposed to welding it directly to that, is it just needs to be a little bit higher than what this frame is. So that's the reason for this. Alright guys, so the receiver's fully welded on. And the only thing we have left to do is we have to add some leveling feet, and this is what I'm going to use. I had some 2x2 box tube, and I've just cut a 45 and then taken the top off of it, and we're going to drill a hole in it, and we'll weld a 1/2 inch nut to it, and then we'll use a 1/2 inch bolt for our adjuster, and that'll be welded just like that, one on either side, and that's what's going to keep the front of this leveled out. So I got our brackets drilled, and I've installed a 1/2 inch bolt, and I've just captured it like this just so it holds it in place. So we'll weld this in a couple spots, and then we can go ahead and weld it onto the frame. Alright guys, so the base is done. So he's going to be able to put his machine on there, and when he needs to move it around, he can grab the dolly, wheel it up under the receiver area here, pick it up, move the machine around, and when he's done, he can just put it back down. And these ones here, like I mentioned before, these guys will bolt directly to the back of a machine, because the machines that these ones are going on have a really solid base. So we can bolt these directly to the base, and then this will be bolted to the other side of the machine, and that's where you're going to clip the dolly into to move those ones around. But that wraps up this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next one. God bless.